I'm getting rid of the foster child my family has had for 7 years. And I don't care if it makes me a bad person. Firstly, please reserve judgment until the end. If you still think I'm a bad person after reading this, I won't stop you. I'm a 30-year-old man. My mom was a foster carer for the last 11 years before she passed away, and she made me promise that I would take over when she died. She had heart failure, but had lived for 7 years after diagnosis. She had 2 foster children, John and Paul. John came to live with us when I was 19 years old, and he was 8 and had severe behavioral issues linked to his trauma. My world was turned upside down, but I very quickly grew to love him. Underneath the trauma and the difficulties, he was an amazing boy who I loved with my entire heart. He's now 19 himself and still lives with me. He just finished high school, and I have no plans to move him out until he is ready. John and I have a great relationship. On the other hand, Paul is 16 years old. He came to live with us when he was 9. Paul has severe special needs, and no matter how much I've tried, I just cannot connect with him in the same way I did for John. Whereas John's behaviors needs never bothered me, with Paul they do. I find him frustrating, and I have to remind myself that he is only on the same level as a 3/4-year-old mentally, and it's not fair that I get frustrated at him. When Mum was still alive, she took the main role of looking after Paul, and I supported her, which was okay. But I knew that when she was gone, I would struggle with him by myself. I didn't sign up to do this. I didn't sign up to look after him for the rest of my life. I just didn't. Mum died 6 months ago, and I said to myself I would try. I kept Paul for all this time, but I just can't cope with him. I can't. I told my social worker that he needs to be moved by the end of the month because I just can't manage. I want to continue fostering, and I love being a foster carer. But I just cannot meet his needs, and it was different when Mum was still alive. I feel so guilty because I made my mum a promise that I would care for him until he was at least 18. But I'm building resentment to him, and it isn't fair on him. He deserves to have someone who loves and cares for him in the ways that I just can't. So yeah, call me selfish, call me scum, whatever. I deserve it. Relevant comments. Well, it's dead no. Have you looked into state programs that could help with having a nurse or special needs caregiver to help with the burden? Uprooting Paul could hurt him even more, and he might be looking at you for support. Look into some programs to help and see what they say. If you need to move Paul, make sure you can discuss it with him. With him having a mind of a 3/4-year-old, that does some real damage to him if you aren't careful. My condolences and good luck. Edit. The other commenters are providing good advice and words of encouragement. OP. I've tried everything, any and all resources and support there is. When he's at school, it's not too bad. He has a transport to and from school every day and has a career who comes and takes him out for 5 hours each week. Plus, I have 2 days each month where he is sent to a different foster carer so I can have some peace time. But even with the support, I can't manage it. I feel guilty for giving up, but I honestly tried my best. This doesn't mean I'm cutting him off completely. I'll still visit him sometimes. But I can't meet his needs, and I really tried. OP responds to multiple questions about sucking it in and continuing with fostering Paul, and if there are any programs or residential homes that work with people like Paul. OP. No, don't worry. They already have a place for him in a residential home. I don't know if the system is different in different countries, but giving notice here on a placement isn't seen as the end of you fostering, and I didn't have to justify it beyond. I just can't cope, luckily, because I would have broken down if I had had to find justifications for it. It's funny, my mum used to say that the agency would always have had a way harder time playing John than Paul. John has very mild learning disabilities, but mainly linked to trauma, and had very bad behavior, even now, linked to his trauma. Even though it's way better than when he was 8, LOL. He's given me black eyes and bloody noses, smashed my laptops and TVs, and there was never a point throughout all of that where I ever thought I wouldn't give up on him. I would foster another child like him in a heartbeat and struggled to see why anyone wouldn't. To me, he was just a kid in a tough spot, and our love helped him. My mum explained to me that children like him are actually harder to place because people are less forgiving of behaviors without a cause they can physically see, like an obvious learning disability. I really tried to extend that to Paul, genuinely I did. I just couldn't. It just didn't click. I can't do the care he needs, sadly. And it's gutting for me because I really tried. And even though, I don't feel that intense love for him that I do for John. I would never want Paul to be put in harm or not cared for. That isn't how the foster care system works. Me being unable to cope with Paul, who has extreme needs, means I should never be able to care for potential tens of children that I can support throughout my lifetime. Because I cannot support one child is severe send means that any potential foster children that I could support should what? Just continue living in residential/group homes? Have a think about how that logic works for you. Me admitting I can't cope with one child means that tens of future children could go without care and love in your world. Does that make sense to you? He is already on the highest package of support, which is immense, and I am entirely grateful to my agency. But even with it, I'm not in a position to support him how he needs it, unfortunately. He already has a place in a residential home, and I will still visit him. I don't want to just move him there and pretend he never was part of my life. I'm not that heartless, at least. LOL update. It has now been a few days since Paul moved out, so I thought I would give a little update. Firstly, I want to thank everyone who took the time to read my previous post, and for those who offered support and understanding. It meant a lot, honestly. Paul has been placed with a new family who specialize in caring for children with severe special needs. I believe this is the best environment for him, and he seems to be settling in well. I am keeping in touch with his new carers, and they've assured me that he's receiving the care and attention he needs. At first, the house felt different, quieter but also emptier. There's a lingering sense of guilt, but I'm also more at peace knowing he's in a place better suited to his needs. John and I have had more time to spend together, which has been nice. We've talked a lot about everything that's happened, and I'm grateful for his understanding and support. I've also started seeing a therapist to help work through the guilt I have been feeling and to help me grieve. Yesterday, my agency reached out saying they have 2 little boys needing housing for a short-term placement. They said initially 6 weeks, but it could be extended. They are coming tomorrow, and I am excited. They're 9 and 11 and are coming directly from their birth families. This will be my first proper placement, so I would be lying if I said I didn't feel a little anxious. Thank you again to everyone who reached out. Relevant comments. Shirkswin. It sounds like everything is working out well for both you and John as well, Paul, and the kids you're able to help now with these 2 and in the future. Good job taking care of yourself in this difficult time with therapy 2 Blockroute bleibt. So glad to hear you made the right decision. Sounds like you are very awesome, and I hope your new placement will be a good fit. Debbie Coleman 1010. Good luck to you and all the boys. You did the right thing for you all. You tried and it just didn't work out, and anyone telling you differently has never even come close to taking care of someone with severe disabilities.